Auburn adds a little local flavor to finish off this 2025 recruiting class.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the book, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we are ready to get after it. Happy Tuesday. Tuesdays are always great when you can start off with a brand new commit. Auburn adds 2025 running back from Auburn High School, Omar Mabson, to cap off this 2025 recruiting class and do it in a big way. And we're going to break down that in every single way you can possibly talk about it. But before we jump in, you got to check out thebarnauburn.com. Take $25 off your annual membership for 2025. If you are a member of Auburn, thebarnauburn.com, you would have already been expecting this. We've been talking about this commitment for a while, talking about this recruitment for a while. You can sign up today, jump in the recruiting action, jump in the just the overall community, the chat. A lot of great stuff going on, a lot of great new content coming as well. So give us a shot, thebarnauburn.com. I just talked about it. If you've been paying attention at all, you would have been expecting that Auburn would finally add Omar Mabson, again, the 2025 Auburn High School star running back to finish off their 2025 class. We talked about it back in December when we caught wind that he was going to reclassify. And again, this whole thing's kind of been in works for a good bit. Reclassifying is becoming sort of a huge thing now. I tried to think back whenever it really got kicked off. There's multiple every year. There's going to be a handful of big recruits from their junior year reclassify every year. And I went all the way back and the earliest example I could think of, it wasn't even really the same thing, but Austin Wiley. I remember how big of a national headlines it was when Austin Wiley didn't really reclassify. He just graduated in December of his senior year and enrolled and played that year. So maybe that's considered playing a little bit of a year early. It technically would be similar. The only difference is these guys are now not only reclassifying and getting in the summer between what would be their junior and senior years and then actually enrolling in college. Some guys are even reclassifying and enrolling in December. Look at Ryan Williams at Alabama. He graduated early and enrolled early, which is a double whammy. It's crazy. That's just kind of becoming the thing now, is if you're, if a coach wants you and you got the credits to do it, it's almost seemingly encouraged to go ahead and get in. And now with that 5 years to play five, seemingly on the horizon, maybe it makes more sense. And you don't kind of waste, you don't really waste the first year. You could get them playing time and it doesn't really affect their eligibility. So yes, he reclassified in December. It seemed like it was going to be Auburn the whole time. And it ended up being Auburn the whole time. I kind of thought it would be a signing day announcement initially, just for some headlines. I mean, Auburn doesn't have anything. The second signing day is typically not that big anyway. Most of all your big guys have already signed. So the second signing day is typically not a lot of fanfare anyway. So I thought maybe they would just hang out till signing day with this one just to give Auburn a little bit of headlines. But he came in on his official visit this weekend and was ready to go, ready to pull the trigger. And I kind of hinted that could be the case. You saw a bunch of predictions come in after he left on Sunday, and typically, or Sunday or Monday, and typically that means an announcement is coming. Announcement is pretty much imminent, and it was. He committed yesterday, and he is the last, what I think will be the last member of this 2025 class, and it's a really good one, and they got a really good one. Look, he had 2 fantastic years as a starter at 7A in 7A at Auburn High School. 2 great years. Auburn didn't lose a lot of ball games, and Omar was a big reason why. I can remember being very, very excited about all the stuff coming out about him in his fall practice before this season, which was his junior season, and how much bigger he had gotten, how much stronger he had gotten, and how much faster he had gotten, and watched some practice highlights and watched some stuff. And I was like, man, this kid's gonna explode this year. Like, he's gonna be unstoppable, and he could be one of the top recruits in the country his senior year. And sure enough, he rushed for like 1,500 yards and had like 29 rushing touchdowns and like 3 more receiving touchdowns at the top classification that you could possibly play at in the state of Alabama, which is becoming a deeper and deeper talent-rich state. Every single year, it seems like the classes get better and better in state. 2,800 rushing yards in 2 years, 45 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns in 2 years. He's a pretty good little receiver out of the backfield. I think he had, a little bit over 100 receiving yards both years. Not his primary focus, but he can do it. And it's not just like check down stuff. Like, he can get open downfield. He had a play. I'm trying to think of the team that he was playing. But he's had like at 60, 50, 80-yard touchdown pass receptions. So really, really good all-around player. He kind of burst onto the scene his sophomore year, and he's never really checked up. I mean, he was really good his sophomore year as well. I think he had over 1,200 yards in his sophomore year. No one is more happy that Omar is going to Auburn than everyone at Opelika. That's the big rivalry, Auburn versus Opelika in this area, in that area. In 2 games, he averaged right at 7 yards a carry and had 6 touchdowns. So he was a thorn in Opelika's side, and he's gone. So you can rejoice. He would have been, I mean, I can't even imagine where he would be as far as recruiting ranking goes had he stayed for his senior year. But I'm obviously glad that we went ahead and got him in the class, because I think he's going to be really good. And the longer it goes, who knows what could happen? Who knows who could come drop a bag? Auburn got on him early. And that could be like a strategy moving forward. If Auburn kind of identifies a player, an upcoming player who is going to be extremely talented, maybe you work at that reclassification and get them in early so you can avoid like a late in the year bag drop, or a late in the year Texas or Oregon or somebody or Ohio State coming in and dropping a bag late. Maybe this is something that you can kind of preemptively use. I don't know. I don't know if it's just this situation or if that's could be a possible strategy moving forward. If you can locate the kids, if you can identify kids that have the credits to be able to do that, maybe that's a smart recruiting strategy moving forward. We'll see. It could just be a one-off thing, but obviously, regardless, very excited to have him. Look, I'm proud of everything Alvin Henderson achieved, okay? And I don't want to belittle any of that, because the numbers that he put up were insane, okay? Do not care about the competition. Those numbers he put up were incredible, and he was recognized for it across the board. National Player of the Year, I think, at the U.S. Army All-American game. I mean, all kind of awards. Back of the year, multiple years. I mean, he was recognized, and I want to make sure that I'm not belittling anything that he did. But what Omar did at the 7A level is just as impressive. And some would probably think it's maybe even a little bit more impressive. I mean, 29 touchdowns in 7A is 29 touchdowns in 7A is nasty. Okay. That doesn't happen very often. 45 rushing touchdowns over 2 years, playing against some of the best competition. I would say some of the best. You're playing against your Thompsons, you're playing against Centrals. Last year he played against Central twice and went over 100 yards both times, I think, as a sophomore. I mean, playing against the best high schools in the area, and just dominated. and he can do it in a bunch of different ways. So he gets here in the summer. So, May or June, but he got an opportunity to be just a little bit of ahead. So we got a couple of guys coming in the summer, but he's got an opportunity to be even a little bit further ahead than your typical guy that comes in the summer because he's just right down the road. I mean, he could come visit anytime he wants to. He can come to every practice. Hell, he probably could come sit in some meetings. I assume as long as it's legal for him to be on campus. As far as recruiting goes, if it's a contact period and not a dead period and all that good stuff, I assume he could come sit in meetings and be just that much further ahead, and then he could go home for dinner at night. Like it's not even that. It's not even a drive at all. It's just he's here. He's already here. So he'll get here in this summer. He'll work out. Again, I think he's not going to be that far behind. He's already really good size. I mean, the kid's pretty cut up already as a 17-year-old. I guess we're going to have to hear that for a while, especially if he's good. He'll be 17 for like 2 years. They'll talk about it on TV for 2 years, how he's 17 years old. But he's 5'9", 200 plus pounds, and he looks every bit of it. Right, he looks ready to go at the SEC level. Now, will he be ready to go? We'll have to obviously wait and see, and he'll have to get in the mix in that running back room, which is going to be a pretty deep running back room, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But big addition. Very, very excited about Omar Mabson. We've been talking about him for a while, and it's finally one step closer to being official. The commit's in. Now he just got to sign, which I believe is next Wednesday. And we'll be ready to rock and roll. And kind of set at running back for several years. And speaking of that, let's take a look at the running back room. Let's talk about the running back room. Omar really caps off what could be a very underrated room on the team. I think people are going to go into this season concerned, understandably so, because you don't have a Jarquez Hunter. Jarquez was here for seemingly 10 years, and he was good for all 10 years, it seems like. Obviously, he wasn't here for 10 years, but he was good every single year. You had a guy that you could rely on that stayed healthy, that could get yards after contact, that was going to make plays when there wasn't a lot of plays to be made. And that guy's gone. So, and you don't really have anybody that's necessarily shown it already because of Jarquez Hunter, because Jarquez Hunter's been so good for so long. So Omar adds your fifth running back to the room. You got your Damari Alston, your little bit of your all-around, more traditional running back. Then you got Jeremiah Cobb, who maybe could be a little bit of a change of pace, more explosive type running back, one that you could catch balls out of the backfield, do a little bit of everything, but just sort of a change of pace. Damari can be your steady guy that's your first and second down running back that can run between the tackles, and then you get Jeremiah in mismatches. You get Jeremiah on the edge. You do a lot of different things with him to take advantage of his explosiveness. And then you have Darrell Robinson, who is a different type back than all the ones we have. He's over 6 foot tall, and he's well over 200 pounds, bruising running back that still has the ability to take the top off. So that's your three-headed monster that you're going to have this year. And then you're going to have your young guns. You're going to have your Alvin Henderson, who I think is going to be a lot like Damari Alston, well-rounded running back that has played a ton, has a ton of experience. Now, the offense that he played in is going to be a unique transition because I doubt there was much pass blocking there's not much pass blocking that was absorbed in that offense. He's going to have to learn that. There wasn't much pass catching in general, but that does seem like something that he's probably pretty well equipped to do. You saw him have a big reception in the All-American game. And then you wrap up with Omar Mabson, who is going to be sort of like this young spark plug. And if you had to look at just overall speed of running backs, he may be the fastest one on the team. He may be the fastest running back on the team already, Omar, as soon as he gets here. So what type of role could he play? I wouldn't be shocked if he's, maybe your on kickoff return. That might be a good spot for him. So the running back room is sneaky good and deep. And I think you got a lot of different options, and they all kind of do different things, which is good. It's not just like the carbon copy. So when you put a new guy in, the defense has to have something extra to prepare for because they all bring a little bit of a different element. Now, are you going to have that one dominant guy? That remains to be seen. But when you add all the pieces together, could you have a dominant, not a dominant, because you have a very good and effective room? I think that's the case. I think that's the case that we have here. So got to see it on the field. Got to have the production on the field, but I really like the makeup of this room. I like the layers of the room. You kind of have somebody at every single year. You have somebody kind of set at every single year, which is awesome. So that's kind of what you want. So we'll see what happens. I can't wait for spring to see how this running back room evolves, and I can't wait to see fall camp and when Omar gets here and how everything shakes out, because I have some high expectations for Omar. I really do. I have some very, very lofty expectations for him. I really do think that he could be one of the elite. You know, he could be just as good, if not better, than any of the elite running backs that have kind of come through Auburn over the last several years. I think he could be every bit as good as Jarquez Hunter. He's got a little bit, to me. He's got a little bit more of a well-rounded game than Jarquez Hunter at this point in time. I think he's a really good receiver. I've already mentioned that. The size is already there. He's got more top-end speed. And I don't know what type of competition Jarquez played against. It didn't really matter because as soon as he got here his freshman year, he was hurdling kids. I think he did that against Penn State on the road, one of his first games, as he hurdled somebody as a true freshman. So I don't necessarily see that type of impact from Omar just because of the depth that we have. We didn't really have that depth when Jarquez got here. It was basically him and Tank. So expectations early. I'd love to see him get involved on special teams. I'd love to see him on kickoff return. I think he could be a really good kickoff. He was one of the kickoff returners at Auburn High. Very good kickoff returner. I think he had I don't know that he had a touchdown, but I'm just let's look at return yards, see if I can find return yards. Let's see. I know I saw a stat with return yards on his Max Preps page. I'll find it. We'll talk about it at some other time. But anyway, I think he was averaged, I think, close to maybe 30 plus yards on kickoff return. So good player, a good kickoff returner. So I'd love to see him get there and then just sort of work your way up the ladder, man. And then maybe by next year you start getting a bigger role, and then by your junior year you could be part of a 1-2 punch, or maybe the punch. You could be the punch year 3. So be patient, get in there, get in the mix, make some stuff happen on special teams as a freshman, play in maybe some mop-up duty if Auburn can, actually get in a scenario where they have mop-up duty to be made, and then just, take over little bit by little bit. I think this kid's elite. If he would have been in the 2027 class, if he would have been in the 2026 class, if he would have stayed in the 2026 class, he would have been, a top 100 player. He would have been one of the top players in the country. He reclassified, so obviously his ranking comes down just a little bit. Not a little bit. It would have come down a good bit. But regardless, I think Auburn's fired up to be able to add this kid to their roster going into 2025, and I can't wait for him to get here and see what all he can do. So big addition. Not a surprise if you've been paying attention. We've been expecting it for a while. Maybe the timing was a little bit of a surprise, a little bit earlier than maybe we thought initially, but it's good to have him in the class. Good to have it rolling. Guys, if you were signed up for thebarnauburn.com, you were already in the loop on this. You already knew this was going down. So you need to sign up today. So just stay ahead of the game, be in the loop. And then obviously the community is awesome as well. Really creating a bunch of friendships and look forward to getting to know everyone when you join. Hang out. I'm there every day. So Sign up today, take $25 off your annual membership, and then jump in the fun. Guys, if you like the video, like it. If you like the channel, subscribe to it. We got some new content coming out today, actually. So be on the lookout. Hit that alert bell. I think you're going to really like it. Probably going to take whatever you see today. We're probably going to have a good version of it for Omar's commitment, a breakdown from a film perspective. I think you're going to really enjoy it. So, guys, again, like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter, _Charlie_5. We're going to be back every single day. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.